Welcome to the Phelps October Virtual Open House. We are delighted to have you joining us today. Hi there. We have a bunch of wonderful presentations planned for you. You're going to get to hear from all of these little beautiful talking heads showing you a full picture of our school. First off, of course, I do want to introduce our very special visitor for today. So JJ the Lion, say hello.
Hey, how's it going? JJ the Lion here. Hopefully you're having a great day.
So JJ is our mascot for today. He's on brunch duty, you may notice. He's waiting for our guys to come in and make sure they get a breakfast this morning. Best meal of the day, start your day off right. I want to brag on him a little bit. He helped us usher in a really fun day on Thursday. So this is our parents' long weekend. We had parent-teacher conferences. And so on Thursday, JJ rolled up in the golf cart, surprised the entire community with our head of school, Mr. McGeorge here. And we had a great big head of school, headmaster's half day on campus. We told them they were going to be having a school picture, so they all, okay, straighten their tie. And then surprise, surprise, we had a day of games, challenges, contests. They won a bunch of prizes. We had an ice cream truck roll up. It was beautiful. If you remember, Thursday's weather was really perfect. So we really wanted to send them off onto their long weekend with a bang to really celebrate. We've been in session now in these strange times for 2 months. And we're really proud of that, to be able to be open, to be back together, and to be able to put in that good work together. It's not easy in COVID times with the new protocols, but we've been doing really well, and we wanted to give them a real chance to sort of celebrate and blow up some steam. Thankfully, the horrible rains on Friday held off, waited for the parent conferences so we could all hunker down inside. But we wanted to welcome you today. Obviously, if you have any questions at any point, I know everyone's a Zoom expert. Feel free to pop them in the chat while anyone is speaking. We'll circle back. Obviously, if you're feeling really friendly at the end, you want to just hop on your mic and ask person to person, we'd be happy to do that. So again, welcome from everyone here at Phelps. So I'm going to be turning you over shortly to Tony McGeorge, our head of school, who's going to be leading a series of, again, short presentations, followed by any questions that we can answer for you. So Tony, I turn the floor over to you.
Well, thank you very much, and welcome on this magnificent day. It's so gorgeous. Thank you for taking the time to be with us today. We really believe that this is an important time for you and your sons, and we want to make this a valuable experience for both of you in terms of your understanding about Phelps and who we are and what we do, and basically how we do it. So we really do thank you so much for joining us today. Oftentimes people ask me the question, can you explain Phelps? What is Phelps? And I had the opportunity to think about that and came really to the conclusion that Phelps is a place of transformation and maximization. It's a place where we take young men, we transform them as individuals to maximize their potential in life. Now, we do this through what we call the Phelps method. And the Phelps method is really based on individual attention, which is really an important part of everything we do. Our classes are only 7 young men, and we combine that with the latest thought in how one successfully educates young men, and that's called relational teaching. So this is a wonderful foundation that we use, and then from that, we feel that there are 5 basic pillars that are really critical to a boy's development into a young man of character, and as we call it, the better man. And that's, first of all, academic excellence. How far can we move the needle? Character, what type of person is that young man? Is he a person that it feels a great deal of self-confidence and self-esteem? And that's such an important part of the next one, which is their personal motivation, to motivate them to really enjoy school, to stretch themselves vertically and horizontally, and really go towards their fears, to take on challenges that maybe they thought in the beginning they couldn't do. And then, of course, physical development, because we think that at this level of education is where so many of one's life patterns are formed. So we think it's very important to promote healthy lifestyles and to exercise the boys, burn off all that kinetic energy, et cetera, and really get them moving about. And then last, but certainly not least, is accountability and responsibility. We're a structured environment, and the boys are accountable and responsible for their successes and sometimes for their failures. And that's how we grow. That's how we take and we stretch the boys, and we try to really maximize their total educational experience at our wonderful school. So I think our team is well positioned to talk to you today. I really, again, I thank you so much. This is a marvelous, wonderful school, and we have just a fabulous team that has been assembled to really support you young men and to help transform them and make them into the most successful young men that they can be. So I'm going to turn it back to our wonderful MC, Caroline, and Dr. Caroline. And thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you, Tony. All right, next we're going to hear from Abby Fitzpatrick, who is our mathematics chair, knows all about the ins and outs of academic life at Phelps.
Welcome. I'm reporting to you today from my own classroom of Classroom 1. Give you a quick tour of the room. As you can see, it's a small space. As Mr. McGeorge said in his intro, the average class size here is about 6 or 7 students per class. So it's hard to hide in the back of these classrooms because they're small. And my job today is to talk to you about that academic excellence pillar as Mr. McGeorge described. So welcome. As Tony said, that foundation for what we do here at Phelps is relational teaching. And that's something that our faculty does so well. From the second your son sets foot on campus, whether it's a tour or even if he's actually enrolled as a student, they're getting to know your son so that they can best interact with them in the classroom to get the most out of them academically. It's been proven boys learn best when they feel some sort of connection to their teachers. So our teachers work really hard at building those relationships and getting to know each student inside their small classrooms. We have a very professional faculty. They get to know your students both personality-wise, but also as to how they learn and what interests them best as a student. So part of what we do here is they create a profile of each young man as he enters Phelps, based on his learning style profiles, what sort of interests might get him excited for the future, so that way we can really tap into where your son is as a young man. Our dedication is to building confident lifelong learners. As a faculty, we meet students where they are in terms of their schedule. We want them placed in a class that's going to stretch them outside of that comfort zone, but also meet them where they are academically. So we offer a variety of AP and honors courses, but we also have an academic support program that Carrie Hemler is going to talk about in a little bit. We have electives to sort of pique student interest in different areas as well. We offer a challenging curriculum, again, to stretch them out of that comfort zone, and it's personalized for each individual student. Our teachers are encouraged to use alternative real-world assessments and learning opportunities to boost student engagement and motivation. Technology is incorporated daily in our academics here at Phelps. We are a Chromebook school, so each young man uses a Chromebook for all of his classes. Our teachers are very savvy with the Google Classroom and finding lots of online applications and different sort of activities to sort of boost student engagement, as well as enhance their technology skills. And it came in really handy when we had to go virtual last spring. Like, all of our students were already well versed with using their Chromebooks and finding assignments in their Google Classroom. Our schedule here at Phelps, each student carries a 7-period course load, but only 6 periods meet each day. So our schedule rotates throughout the day, throughout the week, I should say. Every day we start with a different class period. It sounds complicated, but it's actually really nice from both the student and the teacher perspective. So you have some young men who might learn really well and might present totally different first period as opposed to sixth period in the afternoon. I know as teaching math, I really like seeing those kids in the morning, and they kind of get a little bit harder to motivate there in the afternoon. So it's nice that you can see students at different times of day. It also comes in handy in terms of that athletic component when there's sports and dismissals, that it's not that same class that gets affected in the afternoon with a soccer dismissal or anything like that. So that's kind of a nice, something I really enjoy as a teacher here at Phelps. And lastly, I'd like to talk to you about interventions when students struggle. It's normal that a student might need a little bit of extra attention in his classes throughout his high school career. So one thing we already mentioned is our small class size. Students get a lot of attention here at Phelps, and that's one thing that I love as a teacher. You get to know your students very quickly, and you can kind of see how they tick and how to interact with them to get the most out of them early on. But in addition to that, with our daily schedule, as I said, 6 periods meet each day, but the last period of the day remains constant, and that's our tutorial period. So every teacher at the end of the academic day has a tutorial where they're in their classroom and students can come voluntarily to say like, hey, I really want to go over that one example you did in class, or I found something cool I want to talk to you about. But it also works to the teacher's advantage. I'm a math teacher, and I know not every time students get their homework done on time. So if a student doesn't have his homework completed for that specific class, I can require him to come to tutorial where I can sit down and work with him one-on-one. It's also a great time to just work with a student who might need a little bit of extra attention in a certain subject, just to keep them on track academically. In addition to that, all of our boarding students have a 2-hour study hall in the evening in their dorms. But if their grades start to get a little troublesome, we can pull them into an evening proctored study hall, which I actually lead with another teacher on campus. And it's a lot more hands-on. Show me that assignment. Let's get through and write down all the assignments that you have for the night and sort of work at those executive functioning skills to ultimately get them to be successful on their own in their dorms. And lastly, one thing that's really unique to Phelps that I think is a great tool is our advisory program. Each student is paired with a faculty advisor, and it's their job to work with the student to sort of put them in touch with the right people on campus and empower them to advocate for themselves if they're having a hard time with a teacher or not getting that they're having the issue completing their assignments, getting them into that tutorial, and just being that bridge between the family and the school. So it's a great program, and our teachers work really well at serving in that role as advisor. I welcome you again. Thank you for attending. If you have any additional questions pertaining to academics outside of this Zoom, feel free to email admissions and they'll put you in touch. Thank you.
Thank you, Abby. I'm going to tell a little story on Abby just to highlight how great our advisory program is. We had a student who graduated last year, actually. He's at, I think, Boston College. He said, apropos of his work with Ms. Fitz as his advisor, he said, Ms. Fitz is my man, which I thought was quite possibly the sweetest statement to really sort of show the kinds of relationships that develop in advisory. You know, it's not just someone saying, where's your math homework, or what's going on with, you know, your grades here. These really wonderful relationships. There's also a young man in the senior class now who calls his advisor his surrogate mom on campus. So they're really, really wonderful relationships drawn between the faculty here. I give them all the kudos for that. So thank you. All right, next up, continue our conversation about academics, Carrie Hemler, who's our Director of Academic Support.
Hi, Mrs. Whitehead, or Whitehouse, welcome. I actually recognize you because I did work at Benchmark and I taught 6th grade the same year that your son was there. So the same year that Jack was in 6th grade, I was the other language arts teacher. So this is all probably sounding very familiar to you. As Abby Fitzpatrick was describing the program, I was trying to make the connection between Benchmark and Phelps. So a lot of what you've heard is very familiar between the mentor and advisee program and the small classes. So I'll just lead into what we do in academic support. And so our classes are already very small with 7 students, but within the academic support program, we drill it down even more and have classes of 5 or less. Right now, we are trying out the idea of co-teaching. It's going very well. So the one-on-one and the individualized instruction is even more possible that way. Primarily, the academic support classes are for reading and English, but we also use them for math and social studies and science as needed. Again, we create the learning profiles that Abby talked about. Placement is based on either diagnosis, but also parent and teacher recommendations. Our focus is on learning styles. We believe in multisensory instruction. We like to get them up moving around. A lot of what we do is very hands-on. And part of our job is to also address and support the accommodations and modifications that come along with these students. One of our initiatives this year, if you're not in an academic support class, is that we are doing an instructional coaching concept where if a student is in need of extra support in a class beyond what Ms. Fitzpatrick has already described, we have an initiative called the Learning Center. And the Learning Center is either a scheduled class where a student comes for a study skills or strategies course, or it can be a as needed basis. If a young man knows he has a project due in 2 weeks, he could come, he could meet with us, regiment his time, kind of on the subject of executive functioning, and be able to map things out and experience success beyond, oh my gosh, I have a project due tomorrow. So there's that. And the main goals of our program are to create independent learners, for them to leave with that toolkit, and also learning to advocate. So that's ASP in a nutshell. And thank you for coming.
All right. Thank you so much, Carrie. Next up, where's that wall of blue? All right, Jason McGee, our athletic director, will talk a little bit about afternoon activities, sports, clubs, all that good stuff that happens outside the classroom. Oh, can't hear you, friend. Hey, Jason, you might still be muted.
You know, that mute button always gets me. And I thought I was being really sneaky, being in our conference room in our new athletic facility, and the lights are automatic. So they shut off. I was being so still. And so I popped over there to make sure they didn't during this time. Just being fully transparent with you, but we're so excited to have you here. Again, I'm Jason McGee, the athletic director at Phelps, and I'm excited to share some information about our program. I see a big part of my role as athletic director in two parts. The first is bringing out the best in each boy through our platform of athletics and physical education. And second, preparing each young man for life. And these two standards are in alignment with the Phelps method that you heard earlier and in our pursuit of excellence. Additionally, we want your son's participation in Phelps athletics to transform and maximize his potential by developing character, confidence, and life skills. And that just is done with getting him out of his comfort zone. The vision and some of the highlights of the program, our vision is we want to be a model interscholastic athletics and physical education program that focuses on the whole boy. Again, that relational teaching, that individual attention, that's what we want to focus on, even in their role in athletics and PE clubs. It doesn't change. Some of the highlights, we want to reflect and complement the overall excellence of the school. We want to strive for comprehensive excellence on and off the field. We want championship level athletic performances, which is measured by all teams and individuals simply doing their best. That doesn't mean we go out and win the PACE championship in the state. That's great, and we certainly strive to do our best with that, but we measure championship level performances by each individual and each team collectively doing their best. And the final goal I just want to highlight is allowing all of our students to participate and share the experience and benefits derived from Phelps team participation. You know, each of our boys has to participate in 2 seasons. They participate in clubs during the day. And that naturally, they can gravitate toward things they're comfortable, but we nudge them to go into sports and to activities or things that maybe they just had an interest in, or they just are curious, or maybe we encourage them to be curious. But again, each boy has to do at least 2 seasons. A lot of them do 3. We have 3 traditional seasons here at Phelps. We have a fall, a winter, and a spring season. In the fall, we offer cross country and soccer. In the winter, we offer basketball and wrestling. We're considering bowling during the winter this year, and maybe longer term having that as part of our sports offerings. And then for the spring, we have baseball, golf, lacrosse, and tennis. In addition to these sports, we offer different activities, yoga, mindfulness, meditation, esports, gardening, strength and conditioning, which is in our weight room, and just introducing the boys, whether they're a beginner or they're someone who's very confident in the weight room. We have currently postponed our fall season and planning 3 modified seasons after January 1st. So when we come back January 4th after our break, we would go right into a winter season, and then we'd have a fall season, and then we'd have a spring season after that, and done the right way with the mitigation steps, and so the boys can continue to pursue their interests. One last comment on sports is our recent merger with the Penn Jersey Athletic Association, which is extremely exciting. There's more than 20 schools, and that just means a lot more opportunities athletically, but also academically and socially. Things like debate, chess club, those are things that we can do with a lot of other schools. We can do them virtually, we can do them in person when done right, and that's very exciting for our school. Finally, I did just want to provide some quick highlights from distance learning and our current non-traditional sports season, which we're currently in. We've been able to offer basketball, we've been able to offer soccer, what we call a Lions games, which is a mix of weight room, walking and hiking, yoga. The boys can come in and play pickup basketball. They can do ping pong. So there's boys that signed up for any one of those during this kind of non-traditional season. But even last March, when the pandemic first hit, we quickly built up a wellness offering virtually that included workouts 5 days a week, 3 times a day, that included strength and conditioning and either a yoga or mindfulness or meditation. So it didn't matter whether you were in London or Shanghai or right here in Malvern, you could log in and we can meet the time that really worked best for you and your family. And all of this, our intention is to ensure we maximize the opportunity for our students, regardless of the circumstances. So again, thank you for your time today. And just like Ms. Fitzpatrick said, I'm available at any time to tour the facilities or answer any questions that you have. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. I'm also going to note our lion had to hop off, had to go supervise brunch, but I will say that speaking of the strength and conditioning, JJ the lion, when he is not the masked man you saw, actually does a lot of work, lacrosse coach, wrestling, does a lot of work with our guys for strength and conditioning. And Trey, say hello. Our basketball coach is here today. If your son is a basketball fan, you can certainly at the end ask Coach Morin any questions you may have about that program. Okay,
Hi, how are you? Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Trey. Last but certainly not least, I'm going to invite John Phelps, who wears many hats. He is our academic dean as well as our dean of students. He's just going to round out the conversation on residential life, student life.
Welcome to Phelps. I don't know that I can really enhance anything that's been said by Mr. McGee in terms of the sports and afternoon activities. He's also been very important in development of our clubs this year. And Ms. Himmler and Ms. Fitzpatrick did a great job describing the course, the support you would get from teachers, small classrooms, sort of the depth and breadth of the courses that we offer. And so really what I want to do is a couple things we haven't talked about is about the boarding program and the day program and how they interact, and really how those two programs are connected to the overall goals, which we started with Mr. McGeorge. I always talk about the school as looking to help young men become independent, responsible, respectful, active in the community, and to understand when they leave Phelps, to understand how best they learn, and to really have discovered sort of a passion for that. And that happens everywhere. And when we talk about curriculum, That is not only in the classrooms, but that's out on the sports fields, that's in the dorms, that's during study hall, and so on. So let me talk a little bit about the boarding community. We do have a lot of boarders on campus, and it's been wonderful during this pandemic to have them on campus. It's rather than having everybody virtual. That's been a terrific part of the school year so far. But just to give you a sense, we have very small halls. I would say anywhere from about 8, maybe to 12 students on a floor. And that gives an opportunity for students to really get to know each other, build community. Every floor has a dorm parent. And those dorm parents, again, are establishing relationships and a teaching, sort of a non-academic teaching environment, and supporting those students that they're in charge with to make really good decisions, to grow, to have a good time. And really, this further supports our concept of relational teaching. We have proctors on every floor, and these proctors are usually upperclassmen that show leadership on that floor, that will not only sort of set a tone, but also in terms of just the sort of the day-to-day running of the floor, whether that's form chores or getting together to guys for a hall activity, something like that, hall meetings, etc. Ms. Fitzpatrick alluded to the fact that we have time set aside each evening for study hall, and just to give you a sense, doors are open. It's very, very quiet. We consider this sort of sacred time in the evening. There are teachers that supervise study hall in the dorms, and as a result of that, your math teacher or your science teacher may be on in a particular evening, and you can go and get help. We also mentioned evening proctor study hall. That is a little bit more sort of supervised, and where we can give a little bit more academic support for students that might be having challenges, or that just want another type of environment to get out of their room and away from sort of the moral hazards of their bed or a gaming or conversations, things like that. All of this is built around, again, trying to have students be successful academically, but also so that they grow as responsible citizens and to understand what living in community is. And part of that also happens on weekends. There's all sorts of things that happen on weekends. That could be gaming tournaments, pickup basketball, open weight room, ping pong tournaments. We have movies on weekends. We have special sort of events that are around eating, whether that's ordering food off campus and brought here, or a hot dog roast, things like that are a lot of fun. And we have been limited to the number of things that we can do off campus because of the pandemic, but we typically have a fairly robust weekend trip schedule. And I would just also add, as I segue in talking about day students a little bit, is that day students are welcome to participate in weekend activities. We often have people come, like for a Saturday or a Friday evening to participate in whatever's going on. We also have community service that happens on the weekends, not only on the weekends, but almost every single weekend there's something going on, and our students are involved in that, and day students can also be on campus to participate. I would also again stress this advisory program we have, which is very integral to what we do. And again, talks about the relationship building between adult and student, which we find so important. Every student will have an advisor And typically you would have an adult, a teacher would have 2 to 4 advisees, which really allows for the ability to get to know kids and to have those conversations, whether about school, how was your weekend, how was the game yesterday? That's terrific. So it's a lot of bit of it's a little bit of everything. Our advisor program, and they're also a really important link between what's happening at school and to the families. They can act as a conduit for information. You know, to sort of put in check the reality of what student may be telling their parents, things like that. So very important there. The day students, we have a robust day student population that comes every day, whether they're coming on public a bus or by car, however, and they're very well integrated into the academic day and afterwards. There's not this sort of division between the boarders and the day students. They're really together, and it's virtually seamless. The day students also participate, as Mr. McGee talked about, in the afternoon activities, afternoon sports, and they're a big part of that. And again, they can also join in the activities that happen on the weekend. It's not only about learning and prepping for college and for life. We do like to have fun, and I think we started the conversation about talking about an event we held at the end of last week, which was a headmaster's half day, where we did bring all the students together in the afternoon, and there was games and contests and giveaways and ice cream and just really fun and good school spirit. And I just want to share that I'd gotten some emails and a lot of feedback from that day, and not only students, but from the adults in our community. And they're like, boy, we need to do more of that. That was fantastic. And again, it's just another way to connect with students and to build those relationships, which are so important. So I'm going to end there. And again, thank you for participating in this morning's event.
Thank you so much, John. All right, before I turn it over, obviously any questions you may have, I just want to note one thing that I don't know if we've touched on, but you might have noticed that a lot of the gentlemen here have an alarmingly similar fashion sense in terms of neckwear. So I'm going to use this just as a chance to say, we do have a uniform at Phelps, and the gentlemen in our number here are demonstrating some of our sartorial take today. So we've got the Phelps striped necktie, so everyone, you know, when they come for registration, gets their very own Phelps necktie. They have a patch that'll go on their blazer. Looks something like this, only, you know, on a crest form. And so Monday through Thursday, we want them to look their best. You know, some people will end up in careers where that is needed. So to learn how to tie your tie. Mr. Phillips was talking about the proctors. Sometimes their role really is to help someone figure out a necktie in the morning. I've been in dorms where there's an entire wall panel of the different styles of knots, which I was like, oh, that's educational for me. So you'd have a button up, a blazer, khakis, and some dark dress shoes. On Friday, we casual Friday it up a little bit, so they get polo shirts. But just wanted to make sure to point that out, because you're not seeing any students here, but segue. If you or Jack are interested, 2 things. 1, we are holding some limited socially distanced campus visits. We'd be delighted to have you guys come on campus. Masks and health checks, all those good precautions in place, but we have been bringing families around to peek in at the classes, see the guys there. And we're also planning a student panel where I get some of our student ambassadors to, you know, hop on a Zoom call like this, try it out, tell us a little bit about what brought them to Phelps, what their experience has been like. We've been testing out the Zoom rooms. You know, who wants to show me a Zoom of their dorm room? That's the challenge. You know, who's got a dorm room that is ready for prime time? But we're planning that for November 8th. So it's also a Sunday, I think around 12:30. So obviously shoot us an email if you'd love to have, you know, hop back in and hear from our guys directly, have Jack hop on, or obviously shoot us an email if you wanted to come to campus at any point during the fall. But at this point, Ms. Whitehouse, the floor is yours to ask us any questions you may have.
All right. Well, thank you so much. That was great. As I said on the phone, I really did not know